Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the start of the holiday season wherever you are in the world. And in the time-honored tradition of recycling old content, I am going to go through my favorite pieces of gear for 2019. I'm roughly going to break this up into a couple of different categories. We'll do amps, pedals, guitars, general stuff. I'll talk about some of my favorite gigs, some of my favorite pieces of music, and yeah, just basically what happened on the channel in 2019. Let's do it. So at the start of the year, I had a pretty specific goal with the channel where I wanted to try to upload at least one video per day. And at the moment, it's Saturday, December 14th. And I was going through my YouTube analytics earlier in the week, and I'd uploaded over 380 videos this year. So, almost 400 videos. So I guess on one hand, I don't have a life, but on the other hand, it's been amazing to see this channel grow. I love interacting with everybody who tunes in. It's genuinely so much fun, and it really means a lot to me when you guys give me constructive feedback or you go and check out the music that I make in the real world. I guess the internet is as much a part of the real world as anything else now. And, it's pretty amazing that a guy like me living in such an isolated place like Perth, Western Australia, sitting in his basement playing guitar all day, can have access to so much incredible gear. So let's start by talking about some of my favorite pieces of gear. And we'll start with the guitars, because even though this is a guitar focused channel, I don't spend a lot of time reviewing guitars. I have a couple of favorite guitars that I play all the time. In general, I own way too many guitars, and I've done a little tour on one of my live Q&As that you guys can check out. But I did get a chance to go to the West Australian Guitar Festival this year, which was amazing. I really hope they run that one again next year, because having a guitar festival here in my home state is primo. I also got to go to the Boston Amp Show in the States, as well as the Dallas International Guitar Festival. So I got to play some really, really sweet stuff. Let's go all the way back. The Boston Amp Show, I got to hang out at the PRS booth for a little bit. They actually loaned me an incredible single cut 594 that I used for my Fractal audio clinic there. So that one definitely makes the list. Just one of the finest instruments I think I've ever played. If you guys watch the channel, you know that I adore my 2008 SC245, and the 594 to me was like a slightly more vintage version of that. I've got a great 2002 Les Paul Standard in Sunburst that you've seen on the channel. To me, the 594 was like all the things I like about that guitar and all the things I like about my PRS single cut as well. And it had a coil tap on there. It was pretty amazing. There was some great tones in there. So at the high end of the spectrum, the 594 definitely makes the list. Also at the high end of the spectrum is the Rubato Lassie, a much lesser known guitar company. You guys would have seen my video there. It is a carbon fiber guitar that doesn't look like a space shuttle or something. It kind of just looks like a guitar. And it's so lightweight and ergonomic, it almost plays itself. I've done a couple of gigs with that thing, and I still have to get around to doing an in-depth review of it, but I've really been spending some time with that one and absolutely loving it. So the Rubato Lassie, go and check out their stuff. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. Very forward-thinking, but also like kind of just true to what makes vintage guitars cool as well. So I like that fusion there. At the other end of the scale, obviously on the back end of this whole Gibson Play Authentic thing that happened on the internet, I was lucky enough to have the people at Dean Guitars send me one of their Flying V-shaped guitars, and it's made in Indonesia. So I was like, oh, well, how good is this thing going to be? But I do have to say, I was very, very impressed with the workmanship on it. In general, I think one of the great things about this whole decade of guitar manufacturing has been how much the quality of guitars made in Indonesia and Vietnam, generally the Far East, has improved. And that V, I've gigged it. I still play it. You guys saw my King Diamond video where I use it. I thought it was an all-round great rock and metal guitar, and definitely worth checking out if you like that aesthetic. Now, let's talk about two other guitars to round out, I guess, a top five. This isn't going to all be like top five. There'll be, more or less than five for certain categories. But for the guitars, I guess towards the high end of the spectrum as well, and definitely one of the more modern, cool style guitars that I have tried recently is the Orbsby Goliath. I tried this one down at the West Australian Guitar Festival. I did a video with that one, and it's headless. It's got this kind of crazy shape and this kind of like Jackson Pollock looking finish on it. It's a multi-scale as well. And I have to say, it was just incredibly comfortable and it really suited my playing style. It really made me lean more towards that kind of modern set of voicings. And I just gelled with it immediately. I was really, really impressed. There were a bunch of other great guitars that I tried out there from the Orbsby booth, but I have to say that Goliath really gelled with me. And if I was ever going to get a modern headless guitar, I would lean towards one of those. And I think by far the coolest guitar that I got to try this year, though, was the Dogtown Blues Box shovel guitar. You guys would have seen a video of this on my Instagram. And yeah, I mean, it's a guitar made out of a shovel and it sounded amazing. I can't play slide guitar to save my life, but it kind of made me sound like I knew how to play slide. So running that through an Axe FX was easily my favorite guitar moment of the year, just because I'm playing a shovel. That would round out my top 5 in terms of guitars. In terms of amplifiers that I tried this year, obviously I have to say straight off the bat, the Cherrytone Molecular, that was the first one of its run. I worked pretty closely with Nick from Cherrytone on that one, and he absolutely nailed the design spec. So I'm super biased. That's my favorite amp of the year, but that one is available to order now. You can go and check out the videos that I've done with it. Essentially, it's like my ultimate high gain modded Marshall, and I love that thing. Again, at the other end of the spectrum, you know, the Cherrytone stuff is really, I guess it's boutique. It's not priced boutique, but the build quality and the customization available is definitely boutique, is the Boss Katana Mark II, another amp that I need to do an in-depth follow-up on, but genuinely so impressed with that. I have highly recommended that to quite a few people, some of my students included, who have come in and tried it and been blown away by how good it sounds. The fact that it's a head, but it's got a little built-in speaker, so you can use it as a practice amp. Just takes everything that was good about the Katana series and kind of just bumps it up next level. So the Katana 2, basically for the money, I don't think you can beat that thing. It's pretty amazing. Very, very impressed. Boss have been killing it the last couple of years with just their whole product line in general, I guess. Another amp that I was really, really impressed with was the PRS MT15 amplifier. So basically a high gain, well, it's 2-channel, high gain and a clean sound lunchbox. But in terms of lunchbox amps, this thing sounded like a big boy amplifier. It was really, really impressed. I had it side by side with a PRS Archon at their booth at the Boston Amp Show, and I have to tell you guys, I much preferred the MT15. It didn't need a boost in front of it or anything like that. It just sounded absolutely killer. And to round out this list, I guess this kind of makes it like a top 4. It's not necessarily a new product for this year, but it was new to me to try, was the Mesa Mini Rectifier. It just blew me away with how versatile that thing was. You can watch my 5 killer tones with that one, and it totally nails the recto thing, but it also does a whole bunch of other stuff. If you want a lunchbox amp that can kind of cover, you know, every style you would need for like a band playing music from like the 60s to modern stuff, that would probably be the amp to get. I was so impressed with the Mini Rectifier. Let's move on to pedals. I tried quite a few pedals this year, but there were a few standouts. For bang for your buck, I would have to say it's almost impossible to beat the NUX Tape Core pedal. It's basically the Roland RE20, sorry, I should say the Boss emulation of the Roland Space Echo, the RE201. You know, Boss had the RE20 twin pedal, and it's basically that. I mean, it's totally a ripoff, so, you know, there is that whole ethical thing about it, but, you know, everyone's ripping off everybody at the moment. So I'm just going to say that I really, really enjoyed that pedal, and for the money, it's just unbelievable, the sort of feature set and the sound quality that they crammed into there, and it's got a computer-based editor to go along with it. So I loved that one. Very, very impressed by what those guys are doing. At the other end of the spectrum of delays, by a very, very renowned manufacturer of delays, is the Eventide Rose. I think a lot of people, when this came out, were kind of underwhelmed by it. Because, you know, Eventide is known for their really pristine rack effects, like the H3000 through to 9000 and stuff like the H9. I love the H9. You can see it just sitting there. But the Rose really surprised me because it's just such a weird, beautiful pedal. Like, if you wanted something to just give you like vanilla sounding delays, probably not the pedal to use. But if you want a super creative hands-on experience with full MIDI integration, if you know how to program that stuff, the Rose is pretty amazing. It can do everything from your kind of standard delays. It's just a really nice sounding delay line with a beautiful high filter and modulation, but the weird stuff is where it is at. I really like it for making soundscapes, you know, cranking the feedback up, setting the delay time so that you can, you know, basically change the sample rate and manipulate stuff. It's very cool. It's almost like, you know, the stuff David Torn and Daniel Lenoir are known for doing with like the old Lexicon. I think it was a PCM 41, 42. Yeah, just basically for something that can time stretch in real time and you just twist knobs and have fun. It was such a surprise for me from a company like Eventide that they came out with something like that, and I hope they continue to come out with pedals like that. Right, from the US to Australia, another pedal that I loved was the Anarchy Audio Spring Driver. This one might have gone under the radar, but it's basically a real deal spring reverb in a box with a little pedal that you can put on your board, and you can put the spring on your amp or something like that. And it's just, spring reverb's just a beautiful thing, and it really made me appreciate how much I enjoy that sound. And it just so happens to be coming out of my hometown of Perth, Western Australia. So the Anarchy Audio stuff is always awesome. I would highly recommend checking that one out. And if you want a real deal spring reverb, go and check out the Spring Driver. Right. I think this is going to be like a top 5 or a top 6. So I got to keep going. So another pedal that I was just blown away with, like pedals shouldn't be able to sound this much like an amp, is the Rev G3. I tried the G3, which is the purple one, and the G4, which is the red one. And I think for what I like, the G3 kind of does the modded Marshall thing. Running that into the power amp return of like a Marshall DSL or something, it sounds like a tube amp. Feels like a tube amp. It's pretty amazing that they're doing pedals like that at that price point, and they've since come out, I think, with the G2. If they could stick a G3 and a G4 into the same box, that would be pretty fantastic, because I like the G3. I really like the G4 for the kind of like modded, you know, super high gain stuff like Rectifier Uberschall, but the G3 works a little bit better as either just a straight up boost or as an amp in a box pedal. So very impressed with that. And I would have to say probably my favorite pedal or set of pedals is the Boss 200 series. I've had those at the studio here for a little while now, and they're just great. Like, Boss makes great stuff, and they're really, really well thought out pedals that kind of bridge the gap between the Boss compact stuff, which is literally just like what you see is what you get, and the 500 series, which is like rack effects or studio effects in a pedal. Kind of like walks that fine line between tweakability and ease of use. And out of all of them, I probably enjoyed the EQ 200 the most, just because I think everybody needs a good graphic EQ in their arsenal, and that one gives you two programmable ones with like super duper amounts of flexibility with how you want to route it. But the delay is great. The OD200, which I've got a video coming up with next week, and the MD200 all really impressed me. So in terms of pedals, they were my favorite pedals for 2019. right, let's talk about software. Obviously, in the last decade, audio software and specifically, guitar-based software has become so much better and so much more relevant. Off the top of my head, I was really impressed with the Nembrini Audio guitar plugins, namely the Soldano one, the BST 100, and their take on the old JCM 800 2210. Neural DSP have been doing great stuff as well. I really enjoyed their Pliny Archetype plugin, and of course the people at Mercurial. If you haven't checked out the AMT SS, I forget what it is, the SS1X or something like that. I'm probably butchering this. It's not something that I got around to reviewing on the channel, but I did shoot some impulses which were included in that one. And that's a real kind of sleeper plugin because you can get some incredible tones out of that. You sort of look at it and go, oh, it's just a plugin emulating a preamp pedal, but can kind of do a little bit of everything, and I really, really enjoy that one. All those companies do incredible stuff. Another plugin which I thought was super cool and super creative was Miko from ML Sound Lab, which basically is like, gives you a speaker and a bunch of microphones, and you can shoot your own IRs with it. So you can basically position these microphones on virtual speakers in the plugin. When you find a sound that you like, you can export that as an IR and load it up into your modeler. I think it's such a cool concept, and I really hope they expand upon that. There was a bunch of other plugins which aren't necessarily like guitar based. One that I've been using a lot is the Arturia Pigments plugin. It's essentially a wavetable synthesizer fused with an analog synth engine as well, and Arturia just make incredible stuff. And I've been using Pigments a lot for writing and a lot for kind of like my demos and my Sunday videos. So very, very impressed with that one. One plugin which I've been finding super duper useful, which is new to me, it's not necessarily new, is the Isotope Denoise. I'm using it right now on my voice. Sounds awesome. And one final one to add in there is the Eurobase plugin. I did a review of that recently, and I didn't expect to get on with this very well, but I've been using it so much. It's actually a little bit quicker to get a good bass sound with that for me than like pulling out my bass and actually playing bass, because I suck at bass. So that one I was very, very impressed with as well, and that kind of rounds out the software section. There's always so much great software coming out that, there's always more great stuff that I don't try than I do try. All right, and in terms of just like miscellaneous gear that I got to try and use this year, one thing that I loved is this. It is the Axcam mount. You can see that. You can get these from a website called thehomemusician.com. Basically, you can mount 2 GoPros on this and your smartphone, put it on the neck of your guitar, and film yourself while you're playing. And I've been using that a lot, and with my guitar students, basically to, practice and hone my technique. And I was teaching somebody sweep picking the other day, and they were kind of working on it, and we popped this guy on. We filmed the left hand, we filmed the right hand. We were able to slow-mo everything, and we were able to hone in on a couple of things that they were doing and that they weren't doing, and it was immediately obvious. And they were like, oh, so if I fix that, and then there's that moment where it's like, oh, cool, I think I get this motion. So that was pretty awesome. That's a really, really handy piece of gear. Another piece of gear which I've been using basically every day is the Fractal Audio FC6 controller for the Axe FX3. It's meant that I can take my Axe FX3 and use it to gig live. So we've been using the Axe FX3 and one FC6 to run guitar and bass live. Like, our entire rig fits into a 3 rack space unit with the FC6, and I'm able to program patches so that if I play a guitar solo, the bass immediately gets a little bit louder, and it has just streamlined our whole live setup. We've never sounded better doing live gigs with Ragdoll, and it's the FC6 is just great. It's literally, you plug it in and it works. You don't have to do any MIDI programming or anything like that. So very impressed with that one. I did a demo with the Kemper Profiler. I did a demo with the Atomic Amplifier. I did a demo with the Line 6 HX Stomp. So a lot of people out there who know that I use an Axe FX are always asking me, what do I think about these other products? I tried all of them this year. I have to say, I loved all of them. It kind of just boils down to, what are your needs and what do you want out of a modeling product these days? So they were all amazing and great. I can only say great things about what all these companies are doing. For what I like, though, I think the Fractal Audio Axe FX3 kind of just hits it out of the park. But again, I use one that kind of makes me pretty biased because you're going to love what you use. But whatever you use nowadays, it's never been a better time to jump on the modeling train because it sounds so good. All right, what else did I try? Kind of related to modeling. The Boss was a tube amp expander. It's a load box, it's a power amp, it's an IR loader, there's effects. Just very, very impressed that Boss came out with that one. It's very similar, I guess, to the Universal Audio aux box, but it kind of has more features that would be in line with what I would want out of a setup like that. So the was a tube amp expander. Again, I did a demo video with it. You guys can check it out. It's a really, really impressive product. It is pretty big and heavy, but it just feels super solid. All right, and to round things out, the Fishman TriplePlay Connect pickup, because it lets you play synth guitar through an iPad. I'm in the process of integrating this into my live rig. I want to do a video next week showing you guys how you can pull some hybrid guitar and guitar synth tones using whatever your guitar rig is and then an iPad. So very impressed with that one. I've got it set up with the Fishman FC1 foot controller at the moment, and I do need to do another in-depth video. Like I said, with a lot of these, there's so much follow-up stuff that I haven't really had the chance to get around to it because it's been so manic, but very impressed with the TriplePlay Connect. There's so much more stuff that I could cover in this video, but I feel like I've been waffling on long enough. On the personal front, Ragdoll released a brand new single called Rust, so it was great to get some new music out there, and I was blown away with the response that I got from so many people, especially so many of you guys who actually went and checked it out, so thank you for that. We got to play some pretty epic gigs this year as well. We played a sold-out show in Melbourne at Cherry Bar, which was so much fun. We got to play in New Zealand. We played all around WA. It was just a lot of fun. For me, this whole year has just been like reconnecting with why I love playing live music and why I love playing music with people. It's just kind of been about, reorienting what I want to focus on out of life and out of music and out of everything else I do, and doing YouTube stuff has certainly been a part of that. So a big thank you to all of you guys out there who either directly or indirectly support the band and the channel. I really, really appreciate it. So getting to do all those things was, I'm so lucky to do this. I really can't stress it enough. And to live where I live and to be in good health and good spirits is, at the end of the day, what it's all about. So that was my long list of my favorite pieces of gear. Like I said earlier, there will be a playlist in the video description for you guys to check out all these various little bits of gear that I've been talking about. Thank you so much for checking it out and letting me rehash a bunch of content. I would say for 2020, I don't think I'm going to try and make nearly 400 videos again. I'm going to maybe streamline things a little bit and maybe not release a video every day, but we'll see how we go, because part of why I like this is I can just get psyched about a piece of gear or a musical concept or something that I want to share, and I can pop it up on the channel and share it with everybody. And if you want to watch it, you can watch it. If you don't, you can scroll on by. So for all of those of you out there who do want to watch it, thank you so much. Let me know what your favorite pieces of gear were this year in the comments, and I will see you next time.